We are here in the vault, and if you guys missed our video on the vault, I have a link in the description box down below so you guys can go check that out if you're into that sort of thing. But we're here because we're actually going to be in the shop here in a second. I'm going to be tightening up a few things that I've been kind of putting off. Everybody does the procrastination thing, and mine has been this guy right here. It is on its third barrel out of necessity, but what we're going to be doing is changing out some components. I want to get rid of this heavy gas block, and I want to swap out the forend to a more modern forend. We have a Midwest Industries rail here. I think we have a video out on this particular rail variant from earlier in the year, but these things are very nice. But to do that, we're actually going to be focusing on this today, and this is a new tool. So these are commonly referred to as like action rods. This is the upper receiver rod from Midwest Industries, and I've been looking to get one of these things for a long period of time. And what this does is replace your action blocks that you would usually use to clamp around the receiver. This runs up inside of it, and how that works is you can see it's got this star chamber here, the exact opposite of what the star chamber in your rifle is. And then this mass here on top goes where the internal components like the gas key and the charging handle would be. And that gives you a really rigid fit to work against. Now, if we work down the anatomy here, you can see that that is how it goes in the vise, that little squared off section right there. And I suppose on initial observations, what I would say is that having worked with a standard set of action blocks for a long period of time, they pretty much go into your vise one way. Now you have the option of putting it in like this, or maybe putting it in and flipping it over, depending on where if it's hinged or anything like that. But you pretty much have to work with the rifle in this plane. With this guy, it would be very easy to flip it inverted.
Well, if you were directly above him, how could you see him?
Because I was inverted.
The other thing that I would point out is this is going to be more compatible with some of your after factory stuff that isn't like quote unquote mil spec. So if you've got like a weird upper receiver, like a big fat billet heavy upper receiver or something like that, it may not work in your traditional action blocks because the exterior dimensions are going to be different from that of what is cut into your action blocks. This, on the other hand, works off of the standardized internal dimensions that have to be the same, so that, or at least close to spec, to allow it to operate. So this thing is going to fit pretty much every upper receiver that you're going to put it in. So I suppose along those same lines that a traditional set of action blocks would be more prone to marring up the exterior of the rifle. Obviously, I don't care about that sort of stuff. But if you do, that's something that you should keep into consideration because this is going to be inside. It's definitely not going to be marring up any of your expensive Cerakote finishes or anything like that. Now, this thing is beefy. I mean, this thing is pretty hefty. This is made out of 4140 ordnance grade steel, and it has a black oxide finish on it that gives it that kind of nice sheen. If I put it underneath of the light there, you can see that she's pretty shiny. And like I said, this thing is a tank. Like, you are never gonna bend or break this thing. Like, I bet this thing weighs 1 kilo. You could like put it on the side of your bench, and when you're not using it for, you know, gun work and stuff like that, you can use it as a melee weapon. And great success. You can see that we were able to get that thing mounted up. So now we're gonna see if this thing actually works, which is always a question, you know, when you start messing around and mucking around with everything that's going on inside the gun. So, can on, because I did not bring any hearing protection to the range with me here today. Fiocchi 223A. And I mounted an ACOG on here. This is probably not going to be zeroed. We're just going to shoot the, we'll shoot the big plate down there and see if I can hit anything. Uh-oh. Didn't pick it up. All right, I can tell you what's happening. I put an adjustable gas block in it, completely changed out the gas block that's in here, and it has one of those adjustables, and I just threw it on there. Didn't see where it was set or anything like that, so those are the first shots out of it, and apparently we need more gas, and you can feel it. I'm gonna go ahead and pipe one really quick. I want you guys to see this. We'll just make sure that she's good. I'm gonna hold it off my shoulder so you can see how little recoil there is. There's basically no recoil, and I'm gonna bet that that did not cycle. Yeah. So the bolt is not reciprocating enough to pick up the next round. It's definitely under-gassed, and that's gonna be real quick. I just need to go get an Allen key. Yeah, look at this thing. So, ready? Empty piece of brass. Not extracting. Bolt isn't even coming partial way back, and that's why there's very little recoil. Is there's no reciprocating mass because it's just not going anywhere. Gas block adjusted. Cool. I'm not sure where the ejection pattern on was on those guys, but I tested it a few times, and it was giving me that like 5 o'clock ejection, but it was erratic. So it was it would load one, then get stuck on one. It's like it didn't have enough inertia. And this gun has a standard buffer, I believe. No, maybe not. No, this looks like an H buffer to me. I don't know. It's been used so many times for various things. Like you can see what's left over from when we shot 458.